Sometimes it feels like the world is louder than we need it to be, and the hard parts get most of the attention. This is 10 Better Minutes, a place where quieter stories get a little room. Here, you will hear real stories from the past week that show a more balanced view of the world. Nothing exaggerated, nothing ignored. I am Ian Rhodes, your host, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes to listen. Today, we will hear about people stepping up for a neighbor in urgent need, and moments when strangers open their hearts and their doors. But first, let us begin with a story about neighbors in a small town who acted quickly to help an elderly woman in danger. Late Thursday night in Wigston, Leicestershire, an 87-year-old woman named Phyllis was asleep upstairs when a fire broke out in her home. She has Alzheimer's, and she had removed her hearing aids so the smoke alarms did not reach her. By just before 11:30 p.m., her neighbors spotted the flames and rushed to help, even before the firefighters arrived. One neighbor, Suzanne Wright, watched the situation through a doorbell camera. Instead of shouting into confusion and noise, she used the two-way intercom to guide the people gathering outside, telling them how to get into the house safely and where to find Phyllis. Among the helpers were Pav Sarpal, age 28, and Stefan Smart, age 44. They went upstairs and found Phyllis asleep in her bed. They woke her gently, coaxed her as calmly as they could, and worked together to bring her downstairs. In the end, Phyllis was found and taken out of the home, and Wright said the rescue likely saved her life. The details are simple, but the meaning feels big. It is the kind of night where ordinary people decide not to wait. When neighbors support each other with clear communication, steady hands, and quick teamwork, fear loses its grip, and trust becomes something you can actually feel. It is amazing how a single moment of kindness can shift the whole shape of a trip, especially when someone arrives with a worried heart. Today, we are stepping into one traveler's story of trust, gratitude, and finding home in a place that was supposed to feel unfamiliar. Sebastian traveled to the United States for the 2026 World Cup, nervous in a way he could not easily shake. In Boston, he and his friends needed a way back to their hotel, and what they found was a local family led by a man named Bob. Without expecting anything in return, Bob offered them a ride, simple and steady, like it was the most natural thing in the world to help someone who needed help. As the day unfolded, Sebastian said the kindness changed his perspective. Later, when he was in the stadium, he cried, not because the match went the way he hoped, but because something deeper had opened up. He realized he had been carrying distance inside himself, and now he felt connected. He even extended his stay, and he described feeling more heartbroken about leaving America than about Germany being eliminated. What stays with me is how that ride became more than transportation. It became permission to believe people can be gentle, even when you arrive scared, even when you are far from home. Sometimes the best kind of opportunity feels simple. It gives you work, it gives you guidance, and it turns your ideas into something people can actually use. This story follows that feeling all the way to a nature trail, where learning and care meet in a very practical way. At the heart of the Young Planetary Stewards program is a clear path from application to action. Upplandsbygd matched young applicants with local organizations, then funded the projects they designed while providing mentoring and project management. One of the first participants was Una Verveld, along with Clara Vikberg. They were among 10 successful applicants, and they secured paid summer jobs through the initiative. Each person could receive funding up to 40,000 Swedish kroner plus structured support, and they were not sent off alone. Their placement was at Ida Lagergård, a historic children's summer camp north of Stockholm that dates back to 1913. Una and Clara worked with Ida Lagergård to replace the camp's regular information signs with digital signs that use QR codes. Visitors can scan the codes and get updated content focused on nature and biodiversity, including simple messages like why leaving tree trunks can help living things, and also sharing trail history connected to the camp itself. What I love is how this kind of project makes responsibility feel shared. The young stewards gain first professional experience, and the community gains tools for noticing more carefully. Hope, here, looks like hands-on work that stays useful long after summer ends. When you hear about a mountain goal, it is easy to assume it belongs to people with youth and endless time. But Dr. Art Ulene makes you rethink what a challenge can look like at 90. Dr. Art Ulene, a retired star from NBC's Today, is training for his fourth climb of Mount Kilimanjaro, with a very clear goal in mind, the summit on July 13th for his 90th birthday. He and his wife, Priscilla, reached the top at 19,341 feet in 2011 and then again in 2017. More recently, he climbed once more with his grandson, and even when he had to turn back at 17,000 feet, he did not let that become the end of the story. Instead, he leaned into the work of showing up again and again. What I love is how practical his training sounds. About 3 times a week, he climbs real stairs, does resistance exercises, and walks. He started about 6 months ago with just 3 flights of stairs, and now he can manage 50 flights in a session. Recently, he climbed 40 flights and walked 5 miles, and he is preparing to attempt the summit again, this time with the added intention of inspiring other older adults to move in healthy, active ways. It is hard not to carry that with you. Not because it promises everyone will reach a summit, but because it reminds you that age can be momentum, not a boundary. It is easy to think big environmental goals are always delayed, but sometimes a clear decision simply makes room for nature to recover. This is a story about an ocean that just got a larger, safer boundary. On June 7, 2026, the government of French Polynesia announced an expansion of protected waters where seabed mining and industrial fishing will not be allowed. The protected area grew by 520,000 square kilometers, bringing the total to 1.4 million square kilometers. In other words, about 30% of its waters are now fully protected, aligning with a widely used global benchmark. Within that protected space, the goal is not abstract. It is about life cycles and habitats that need time to hold steady. The announcement points to conservation for 20 shark species, including the critically endangered scalloped hammerhead and the oceanic whitetip. It also highlights breeding sites for 22 bird species and protection for 455 mollusk species. Standing beside an ocean can make the scale feel real, even if we cannot see every creature from shore. Still, those numbers describe something quietly hopeful. When protections expand by hundreds of thousands of square kilometers, they do more than exclude harmful activities. They offer room for young animals to reach adulthood, for nesting birds to return, and for a living seascape to keep its rhythm. As always, I have a wonderful tip for you to help your mind settle back into itself and to make room for a little more ease in your day. If you have ever watched something emotionally heavy, read a story that left a weight in your chest, or listened to a conversation that lingered long after it ended, today's tip is about what to do next. Today's tip is about using a breathing app right after the media hits. The goal is not to force your feelings away. It is simply to give your nervous system a clear signal that you are safe now. Open the breathing app while the emotion is still close to the surface and choose a gentle setting, like slow inhales and longer exhales. As you breathe, notice the physical sensations that came with what you watched. Feel your shoulders soften, your jaw unclench, and your body decide bit by bit that the moment has passed. Try doing it for 2 to 5 minutes. If your mind wanders back to the content, that is normal. Just return to the rhythm you are building. When you finish, take one small moment to look around and name one neutral detail in the room. That is your reset. And that is the episode for today, friends. wrapping up 10 better minutes of stories that, underneath everything, point toward the same quiet truth. Even when the world feels loud or heavy, there are still people showing up with patience, neighbors helping neighbors, and communities finding ways to care for one another that never makes the front page. I hope that leaves you a little steadier as you head back into your day, with something gentle to hold on to. This is Ian Rhodes with 10 Better Minutes. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow.